Welcome back to RPTV Weekly News. My name is Ryan, and my co-hosts are Allanis, Victoria, Jabin, and Fred. We present news that impacts on Regent Park and the surrounding areas. In this episode, we present the following news for the week of January 26th to February 2nd, 2023.
Report of the January 17th SDP Planning Committee meeting. The Employment and Economic Development Working Group meeting of January 17th, 2023. Regent Park Community receives a $60,000 opportunity fund from the Metcalf Foundation. Relocated, Swansea, News tenants prioritize over Regent Park tenants for revitalized units. Regent Park activist Miguel Avila free of charges in toppling of Sir John A. Macdonald statue. MPP Krystin Wong Tam speaks to Regent Park Community about urgent issues facing area residents. TTC fares will increase by 10 cents per ride. COVID-19 and Vaccination Update 1, City of Toronto reflects on pandemic response 3 years after Toronto's first confirmed cases of COVID-19. And 2, The Burn, reflecting on the COVID-19 pandemic through art. Events, jobs and employment opportunities.
Report of the January 17th SDP Planning Committee meeting. The Regent Park Social Development Plan, also known as the SDP, is a community-wide initiative aimed at fostering unity and togetherness among all the different residents and stakeholder groups in the community. The Social Development Plan is built around 4 areas of priorities of the SDP. Each priority area is represented by a different committee. The SDP committees are Safety Communications, Employment and Economic Development, and Community Building. In addition to the 4 committees, there is a SDP Planning Committee that meets weekly to help guide the activities of the SDP. The following report is of the January 17th, 2023 SDP Planning Committee meeting. The meeting was facilitated by Daniela Costello of the City of Toronto Community Development Unit and Adonis Huggins, a focus agency representative of the SDP Communications Table. The first part of the meeting, led by Daniela, focused on the SDP appointment of market resident Amina to serve on the Community Benefit Oversight Working Group as the communications representative to the Community Benefits Committee. The Regent Park Community Benefits Oversight Working Group, CBOWG, is an advisory group of 20 Regent Park residents tasked with helping to make decisions related to the allocation of the $26.8 million in benefits made possible through Regent Park revitalization. The SDP has 8 resident positions on the advisory, a TCH resident and market resident for each of the 4 committees. After a short discussion, Amina was unanimously approved. The second part of the meeting was to follow up with the unresolved issues related to January 12, 2023 SDP meeting and the City of Toronto's staff decision to allocate 2023 funding resources without prior consultations with the SDP. Adonis began the facilitation of the second part of the meeting by providing a brief overview of the January 12th discussion in which city staff did not see a problem with the unilateral decision to fund 2022 applicants, using funding resources allocated to 2023.
We had agreed on a process. And the city decided that for the reasons that they outlined, that they decided that they would make a decision without coming back to the SDP. I feel this was a clear violation of our agreement and our partnership. The city, and I'm talking the city funding unit, again, I'm not sure what in terms of other staff feel about this, but certainly the community funding unit felt that they didn't have to come to us. And the major thing that they claimed was a conflict of interest. Well, my argument for this is we weren't asking them to release the names of the applicants that they had allocated for the 2023. All they had to do was in the middle of the process was come back to us and said, hey, we have this idea. We want to expand the funding by allocating the 2023 funds so that more groups could get funding. No names had to be used. No groups had to be identified. It's a principle of consultation. It's a principle of partnership. They did not come to us about this. They decided on their own, and they decided to take their approvals to the city for that. And the reason why this is important is because what does a partnership mean? And that's really what came out of this meeting, was that either the city doesn't value us, value the SDP as partners. They don't feel that they need to come back to us and consult with us, that they can make unilateral decisions on their own about funding that was released to the SDP. So the question is this funding for the SDP? And if so, shouldn't there be a responsibility on the city to consult with the SDP around how these funds are managed and used? Again, we had a year-long process for the 2022 funding that we agreed upon.
Allanis then opened the meeting to others to share their views.
The decision that they made unilaterally with members of the panel committee has created so much social disruptions in our community. It's actually worked against our goal of social cohesion and inclusion. It's not transparent. There's no accountability to the residents. And I'm deeply concerned by, the basically moving away from what this funding was for, which is to prioritize the working group's specific actions that residents wanted to take on.
What has happened is that the SDP has been removed from this funding that has been allocated. We used to have different ways of how we allocated funding through deep dive, the first year, the second year, and this third year is totally even way farther from the table. Right now, when I look at the list of folks that got funded, they are not attached to the network at all, some of them. Some of them are far removed. If planning table is to plan for the full table, how are you going to plan for folks that are not even sitting at the network? How collaboration is supposed to happen with these projects? All of these projects, we used to get them from every table. Every table used to know what the projects are. We used to understand what they're doing. We used to know there was so much transparency. And now, under the guise of conflict of interest, everything is secretive. We don't know a single project that got approved, what they're all about. We don't know how it benefits our community. All of it is under secrecy. And if this funding is meant for the wider community, let it be said so. Let it say, this is no longer the SDP funding. This is a Regent Park funding, and everybody can focus on applying individually to do good work in the community. But why meet every week to plan for a network that is not even attached to each other? There is no cohesion, there is no inclusion, there is zero reason to get involved if everybody can apply from the city directly. So who are we representing? This planning table represents nobody.
Deep dive was bad the way it was, but this with the city, the way they did it, that really struck me. That was like a stab in my back to this SDP in the community in Regent Park. Yes, they had their process and stuff, but not coming to the community regarding about making for 2023. Some of the people that ask for grants, who are they? I thought the SDP money was supposed to be for Regent Park.
Obviously, we don't have the same understanding of what collaboration means, and I think we need to define that in clearly define that, agreed to by both parties, which is something that we can be held accountable to and something they can be held accountable to moving forward with this relationship. Because it's really not, and we have raised many times, we have brought documents forward motions from city council, staff reports from city. And there seems to be no onus to have to be accountable to those to what's said in those documents. It's like it can be just brushed aside. So I really think we need to continue this conversation with the city. It's not good enough just to say, well, you know, we don't, you do have to talk to us. You know, so I don't see this as that's the end. We need to get back to the table, call them back to the table, you know, and call them to the table in a time where when they come to the table, they know that they're going to be there with us for X amount allotted time and not feel pressured that, well, they might have to leave, or we will have to leave, or we can't be here, we don't know it. That's not appropriate. You don't treat people like that.
We need to have a shared understanding of what the funds are for, because I think we have two different ideas. They seem to think that the funds are for any activity that can relate to social development. So if I'm doing an event that brings people together, that's social development. Therefore, this money is for that. Where we think is the money is for the social development plan, and that has a process where the community is engaged, action priorities are identified, and projects are co-developed and collaborated and brought together by members of the social development plan to implement it. Not any action that's happening in the neighborhood is part of a specific plan with specific priorities, and that's how we understand the funding is required for that. Collaborative action identified through the social development plan and its work groups. So that's a first conversation, a shared understanding of the vision. And I believe the city documents support us as opposed to this idea of any action. And I do think in this situation, when we do make good points with the city, sometimes because of their position of power, they don't acknowledge the good points we make. And my question is that we need to solve for is, how do you get someone who has power over you to get you to listen?
The SDP means a great deal here in Regent Park, and I don't think they want it to meet that much. You know, not just the city. You know, from my perspective, neither do they, you know, at TCHC. I think they'd like it to mean less, but it means a great deal to us in the way things are run and the way we make decisions. But every time we are really established and we are, you know, getting our own policies in place, we're hit by something else. And I think it's an attitude change that needs to happen about Regent Park. And that's not happening at the highest levels. The people at City Hall work for us. We do not work for them. They are hired by us. They are voted in for us. And they're there to listen to us and understand that this is a community of intelligent, capable, thoughtful people who can teach them a few things if they did not have the arrogance not to sit and listen. But some of it is just bloody arrogance. And we've seen it time and time again, and I'm sick of it.
I would suggest that the next step in that then for us is to prepare our summary of our what we would like to see as the ideal state of what collaboration means. So we bring that to the city, and I think Richard was suggesting that maybe the city would bring their own document. I don't know, and furthermore that we ground our ideas in the council decisions. So we're constantly referring back to that because that's a common ground that we can work from. And then last idea is that I think maybe we could all say that, yes, the city comes where it comes from, but it seems to me we're probably doing something novel here. This is an innovation. That the way that the social development plan is being funded has never been done before in Toronto. Maybe what we're seeing is that the way that the community funding unit has developed its processes, we're sort of going beyond what works for the glitches and the pain that we're finding. And maybe so just to really get into the fundamental principles of what's going on here, so that, and we may find more common ground there than we might otherwise find, that just by saying to the city, you should do this, and the city says to us, you should do that. But maybe if we can dig down deeper, we can find something that might help us all to move forward together.
The concerns expressed varied and included the use of less informed small panel committee to review proposal versus a deep dive community process made up of informed members, including applicants. The city's approval of groups perceived not to serve the interests of, or priority rather, areas of the SDP. Applicants perceived to be worthy of SDP funding, but whose application was declined. The challenge of evaluating the work plans of funding groups who are not part of SDP and do not report to the SDP, and the decision to fund 2022 applicants without consultation with the SDP. At the heart of these grievances was the feeling that SDP has lost control of its funding. After a lengthy discussion, the SDP Planning Committee unanimously agreed through to form an advocacy committee aimed at regaining control of the SDP funding from the city funding unit. Over 10 members of the meeting agreed to volunteer on the advocacy committee. The advocacy will begin meeting next week, Friday, January 27th.
The Employment and Economic Development Working Group meeting of January 17th, 2023. The Employment and Economic Development Working Group, known as the EED Working Group, is one of the 4 working groups of the SDP. The working group is made up of residents, grassroots groups, and organizations serving Regent Park. The goal of the EED committee is to increase employment rates and entrepreneurial opportunities for residents of Regent Park. Considered among the lowest income neighborhoods in Toronto, anecdotal evidence suggests that many Regent Park households are struggling with employment barriers related to language, lack of skill, lack of accreditation, mental health, Islamophobia, systemic racism, and more. On Tuesday, January 17th, 2023, the EED Working Group held a hybrid meeting at the Daniel Spectrum Arts Centre from 5 to 7 p.m. The meeting was chaired by Asal Afshar from Trudell Development Corporation and Shane Bourne from Toronto Housing, and was an opportunity for residents to hear about all the employment, entrepreneurial, and scholarship opportunities in the community. At the meeting, Asal discussed construction career opportunities through the Bolt Foundation, as well as the summer employment opportunity through Trudell's annual summer internship.
Bolt is a charitable foundation that Trudell is a founding and principal sponsor of. I support the Bolt team as well as just working for Trudell. And they have a scholarship program that they launch every year. The scholarship program is for youth who are in full-time studies that are related to construction. So really anything that's related to construction, it is quite broad. Like we have people in environmental design, we have people in civil engineering, we have people in electrical engineering, urban planning. Like there's really a number of different possibilities. On the website, there is a link of some of the programs that are supported. But you know, if there's a young person that doesn't see a program that they're in, sort of on that list, they can just reach out to us. We've had people apply for the scholarship, and in their answers, they just have to demonstrate that they have an interest in construction. And so with this degree, what they're going to do in construction, and they have also been considered for the scholarship. So it's quite broad. So scholarships are anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 for the school year. We like to support youth throughout their education, all the way throughout their masters. So it's not like a lot of scholarship programs where you apply once and that's done. We like to encourage people to continue to apply and continue to support them.
Shane talked about scholarship opportunities through the Investing in Our Diversity Scholarship Program and co-op summer opportunities through TCHC.
My name is Shane Bourne. I'm the supervisor of Revitalization and Renewal Communities for Regent Park. There are a lot of R's in that title, and I'm here to pretty much let everyone know about TCH's opportunities upcoming in the summer for youth and young adults. So kind of like anyone 29 and under, and some of the opportunities are for any age. So the first thing I want to bring about is the investing in our diversity scholarship program. So what did this scholarship offer? So you can receive up to $4,000 that can go towards tuition fees, books, residence fees, and it has to be at public Canadian institution. And also other related expenses that's looking into your residency fees. So these funds may also be applied towards the cost of a recognized trades or apprenticeship program to support a transitional year for mature students or students returning to school.
Glenmore Williams, a staff member of Yonge Street Mission's Employment Services, presented information about a 5-week employment and career development training program for adults in the community.
It's a 5-week program. Right now we're doing it virtually. So it means that you can roll out of bed, no makeup, don't brush your teeth. You can be in the program. All right? So again, coming back, the only caveat is you have to be in Ontario Works and be willing to show up 5 weeks in a row, 9 to 12, only 3 hours. Virtually a day, minus Saturdays and Sundays. Sounds like a party, right? Now, after the 5 weeks, we will come around to all these amazing programs and say, look, I think this program is good for you, and I'm going to be here to support you for the next 6 months. That's some of the big things. We go through basic computer, personal health, and the plan is basically customized for you. In the Next Step program, you have access to Evergreen Yonge Street Mission. We've been around for 125 years. We know what wraparound service is. So name something you need. Doctors. So you need to talk to a mental health counselor. You need to talk to a naturopathic doctor. You need food. You need clothing. You need to speak to a mental health counselor. You have kids, but you need to go talk to somebody in the office and you have 3 kids. Here's a daycare to put them for an hour so you can go talk to the person. Like, we have wraparound service because you recognize that's what's needed to get somebody to where they need to be. Not just I can get you $90,000, but if your mental health is not right, what are you going to do with the $90,000? So Next Step program connects you to all these services so that we can help you to get to where you want to be.
Ishmael Afra, the EED Access to Recreation Coordinator, spoke about youth employment with the Park Forestry and Recreation, as well as a job opportunity for a workforce integrated position dedicated to help residents find employment.
Access to Recreation is a grassroots group made out of moms in the neighborhood who are trying to make the aquatic community center and the athletic grounds more accessible to community. And I've been hired through them to work with the community, to engage, to advocate on behalf of the community. So we have a fabulous program that we've partnered with Parks, Forestry and Recreation. This is a division of the city. They're responsible for the community center, the athletic ground, the aquatic center. And this partnership is it's called the Building Skills Through Recreation. It's a youth program, and the idea is any youth who's interested in working with the City of Toronto, they're able to, through this program, get support in terms of resume, cover letter, interview prep, and all the certifications that they need in order to land a job with the city. If they're interested in becoming a coach, if they're interested in becoming a swim instructor, a lifeguard, any job that's opened through the city, if any of those they're interested in, all the certifications are for free, and they get support through me. So what I do is I would register them, and the City of Toronto would connect with them, and they would go through certification. So there's a special event that's happening the 21st and the 22nd here in Regent Park. So a cohort of young people have already registered. So thanks to partnerships with the Dixon Hall, Pathways to Education, Healing as One, and Jarvis High School, we've been able to recruit about 30 young people in the program currently. I'm still looking to connect with young people. So if you know any young person between the ages of 14 and 29, please connect with me. And these are seasonal opportunities that come throughout the year. About 9,000 young people are hired throughout the year. And these opportunities come during the winter, the fall, the summer, and all the seasons throughout the year.
Finally, Gail Lynch gave an update on a women entrepreneurship program.
So my update is related to the Women's Entrepreneur Group. There is a market fund that CSI was able to secure to support women who thought of opening up the cafe space a bit more, or open it up and selling some stuff out of it. I think we came to loggerheads in terms of how the program should be structured. So one of the proposals, and that's been sent in email, we can go with the program as is with the support of Regent Park, of CSI, or as a group of women get together and decide how you would like to make that program work. That leaves about $16,000 to $20,000 to allow you to run the program. So that includes the rent, insurance, and all the pieces that you would need. If you want to hire someone, you could think about how that would look, how that person would be able to support you.
With all the available job opportunities available to residents in Regent Park, the employment future of the community appears to be bright.
Regent Park Community receives a $60,000 grant from the Metcalf Foundation. Regent Park recently received a grant in the amount of $60,000 Opportunity Fund from the Metcalf Foundation. The Metcalf Foundation is a non-profit organization that is dedicated to investing in people, ideas, and actions to build a just, healthy, and creative society, and is committed to long-term strategies that improve the economic livelihoods of low-income people and communities. The foundation has been engaged in Regent Park for over 2 decades, including supporting the creation of Cycling Hub for residents, the development of a dance program for Indigenous youth, and the development of a micro-entrepreneurship food incubator. Ismail Afra, a community coordinator with the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, explains more about the Opportunity Fund and how it will support SDP endeavors. Let's hear what Ismail has to say.
Hi, my name is Ismail Afra. I am the Employment and Economic Development Co-Chair, and what I want to report to you is that right now we've received funding from the Metcalf Foundation for a grant that totals $60,000, and the grant is to work on how to engage residents in the neighborhood around employment opportunities that come from the development. This is in partnership with the local organizations such as Dixon Hall, Young Street Mission. For this project, we are recruiting a workforce integrator role, and this role will help with the project in terms of connecting with residents, making sure that they're well aware of opportunities that are coming from the development. And they will also be very closely working with the developer Tridel and do what's called employment forecasting, which is how many jobs are coming within 2 months, 6 months, a year. And after finding out those jobs, they will provide opportunities to Regent Park residents who will be shown those opportunities, and they'll be connected with service providers who will help them prepare for those opportunities. The job is still open till February 6th, so hopefully we're hoping Regent Park residents would apply. This was a very collaborative grant development. We worked with residents, local organizations, and applied for the grant. And the grant is called the Opportunity Fund, and it's for strategies that help neighborhoods, and we've applied for it, and we've successfully received the grant. This opportunity is an opportunity to hire a single workforce development coordinator. And the idea is that one of the gaps we find in the neighborhood is that the interconnection between residents and the knowledge of existing jobs in the neighborhood. We wanted a role that will help bridge the gap between what are the available jobs in the neighborhood and deep outreach into the community. So this is an intentional approach. We want to be able to build what's called an employment pathway, a pathway where residents are able to know what are the actual jobs that are coming down the road, and to be able to have an opportunity to prepare for those jobs. So for instance, if there's a job that's coming in 6 months, what would it take for the person to be able to qualify for those jobs? Do they need special certification? Do they need specific training? With this project, we would be able to forecast all the requirements and all the skills and training that's needed for specific jobs, and residents will be partnered up with local organizations and colleges in order to prepare for those jobs. So this is a pilot program that we're hoping to implement, and some of the learnings we gain from this would help inform how workforce development is done in the neighborhood. There's lots of learning we've gotten from the first phases of redevelopment. Daniels have implemented an employment strategy since phase 1, and now there's a new developer, Tridel, who's coming in. And so with this project, we would be able to learn from some of the strengths and some of the gaps in terms of employment and workforce development. And through this committee, we would be able to pilot what it's like for residents to be aware of jobs that are coming, whether it be in construction, administration, and other professional opportunities. So this for us is a pilot program, and the approach, one of the main reasons why we were selected was because of the approach that we're bringing to this project. And one of the approaches is called the Connected Communities Work. And the idea here is this was a strategy developed by the Center for Connected Community, and it uses what's called a network approach to the project. What that means is that everybody in the neighborhood who is connected to employment, the organizations, the institutions, the residents, they should all be interconnected. And so that's why we're hiring what's called a workforce integrator, a person who is able to bridge the gap between residents and organizations that serve them. So hopefully with this pilot, it will be a model for how employment and workforce development is done in the neighborhood, so that more people in the neighborhood are able to leverage the community benefit dollars that are coming in phases 4 and 5.
Relocated Swansea Mews tenants prioritize over Regent Park tenants for revitalized units. Swansea Mews is a Toronto community housing complex that sits on the corner of the Queensway and Windermere Avenue in the west end of Toronto. The 154-unit complex was home to 400 residents, many of whom are immigrants of Caribbean, African, and Ukrainian backgrounds. According to a June 5th, 2022 article in the Toronto Star, in 2017, a TCH database showed Swansea Mews was among the most broken public housing complexes in the city. At the time, repairs would cost 41.59% of the price to replace the whole complex. Residents say the buildings have been in disrepair for years. On May 27th of 2022, a Swansea Mews resident was sent to hospital when a concrete ceiling panel collapsed. Following the incident, inspections proved that the entire Swansea complex was unsafe. All the residents in the Swansea Mews Toronto Community Housing Complex were asked to vacate their homes and be relocated to other available Toronto community housing units. The notice to vacate came June 12th. Since that notice, many of the Swansea residents were relocated to Toronto community housing homes across the city, including to vacant homes slated for demolition in Regent Park in late 2023. TCHC has offered these Swansea residents relocated to Regent Park priority over Regent Park tenants for new units that will be built as part of the Regent Park revitalization. Swansea residents have until January 26 to accept the offer. Otherwise, any regular Regent Park tenant will have priority over the Swansea tenants for revitalized units. It is unknown at this time the number of Swansea tenants that have been moved to Regent Park and what the impact will be for long-term Regent Park residents waiting to be relocated in new revitalized units in Regent Park. At the time of this newscast, TCHC has not responded to inquiries.
In an email follow-up to this report, Robin Smith, Acting Director of Strategic Communications, stated that the majority of the households from the Swansea Mews were only in Regent Park on a temporary basis until we could find them a new relocation unit where they would move to. And they have moved out. There's actually only a handful of households that are still in Regent Park. Those Swansea tenants who remain are not prioritized over Regent Park tenants. In fact, they're explicitly second priority behind all Regent Park tenants. In fact, they're explicitly second priority behind all Regent Park tenants in the process. A Regent Park household won't have to compete with a Swansea Mews household in this relocation process, and we were very careful to make sure that was the case because we understand how frustrating that would be for established Regent Park families.
Regent Park activist Miguel Avila charged in toppling of Sir John A. Macdonald statue, free of charges. The case against Regent Park activist Miguel Avila charged in the toppling of the Sir John A. Macdonald statue in Gore Park has been stayed. Miguel Avila Velarde of Toronto was one of around 200 people who had gathered in the downtown Hamilton Park for an Indigenous Unity rally back in August 2021. The demonstration began at City Hall and ended with a march to the statue. Protesters then used rope tied around the statue's neck to pull it down. The statue was painted red, damaged with an angle grinder and a hammer, and left face up with pieces of cedar scattered over it. Macdonald, Canada's first Prime Minister, had a pivotal role in the creation of the residential school system that has since been labeled by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission as an act of cultural genocide against First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. Avila Velarde has been charged with mischief, over $5,000 in connection to the incident, after turning himself into the Toronto police after his picture was released by Hamilton Police. He was one of at least 4 suspects believed to be involved in the incident, which police were investigating as criminal mischief. No other arrests were made, despite pictures of the 3 other suspects being widely circulated in the media, confirmed Hamilton Police. Hamilton lawyer Charles Spetegui stated that the Crown had determined it wasn't in the public interest to proceed with the case against his client. The decision was made official during a hearing on Monday.
TTC fares will increase by 10 cents per ride. The TTC is proposing to raise adult and youth single fares by 10 cents, the first increase since 2020. Adults currently pay $3.25 for a single ride, while youth between 13 and 19 pay $2.30. The increase is set to start April 3rd, the report says, and is expected to generate $16.1 million this year. Students will need to bring the following to obtain TTC post-secondary photo: proof government-issued photo ID or school ID. Adults who pays with Presto card will be charged $3.20, with seniors and youth also paying a slightly discounted of $2.25. This option automatically gives you a 2-hour transfer that allows you to enter and exit the TTC as much as you like within that period. According to Toronto Mayor John Tory, he announced that he would pledge to add some $53 million to the transit agency's budget this year. While this is a challenging year for the city, we are investing to keep the transit safe, improve service, and support seniors and low-income residents, Tory said in a news release. The proposed plan will also allow an additional 50,000 low-income residents to opt in on the FarePass transit discount program aimed at making the TTC and Wheel-Trans more affordable.
MPP Krystin Wong Tam speaks to Regent Park Community about urgent issues facing area residents. In a wide-ranging interview, Krystin Wong Tam, member of Provincial Parliament Ontario, MPP, for Toronto Centre, visited the Focus Media Arts Centre at the Daniels Spectrum building in Regent Park. They were interviewed about several topics and key issues that people in this neighbourhood are facing in the early part of 2023, such as the Moss Park Revitalization Plan, increase in TTC fare, the increase in budget of Toronto Police Services regarding gun violence, and the Greenbelt controversy. Krystin Wong Tam is a Canadian politician that has been participating in political matters since 2010, and their most recent win is claiming the Toronto Centre seat with the New Democratic Party, NDP, winning by almost 2,500 votes. RPTV reporter Allanis Inguillo interviewed Krystin Wong Tam. Let's hear what she has to say.
At a time of economic turmoil, where the prices of just about everything have risen, how do you see the recent announcement by the TTC to raise the regulated by 10 cents? I just don't think people can bear that cost, to be quite honest. Community members that I'm speaking to are already feeling the financial crunch. Their housing cost has risen, their food cost is through the roof, their fuel cost is through the roof, and now there's one more thing for them to bear. It's one thing if the TTC service was getting better and they're raising the fare, but they're actually raising the fare and they're reducing service. So there'll be more crowding on buses, more crowding on streetcars, more crowding on subway trains, and less frequent service. So I really am struggling to understand how the mayor and city council could even possibly push this forward when people are asking for financial relief, and somehow they're punishing them with higher TTC fares and poor service. If I was on council today, I would be definitely not voting for that. Yeah. So to sum up what you just said, alongside the fare increase, the TTC is facing ongoing reduction of services, security issues, and a general erosion in rider satisfaction. What are your thoughts on how the public transit can become more responsive? 100% great question. TTC, as all public transport, should be reliable, predictable, and affordable. It should be interconnected from the time you leave your home to the time you get to the boarding station, whether it's a streetcar stop or a bus stop or a train stop. It should take you to where you need to go in the least amount of time with the least amount of transfers and inconvenience, and you should have an enjoyable ride. It should be safe. If we prioritize customer service and the rider experience, you should be able to drive people back into the system. COVID has for sure shaken things up. That means that people are staying home because the companies are telling them to stay home, governments are telling them to stay home. But COVID is not over, but we are on the path of recovery. So we want people to be using transit to put the money back in the fare box, and we have to improve the service, not reduce it. Reducing service at this time, which is so critical to our economic recovery and restarting our economy, is the wrong way to go about it. I would love to shout this as loud as I can, just because I feel very strongly for those of us who don't have options to get into a private vehicle, who rely on public transit, and that includes my mom and my dad. They both use public transit. If it's not working for them and if they're senior citizens, it's not going to work for anybody else. So this is something I feel and you can tell I'm very passionate about it, because the working people need to have access to public services, including transit that is safe, reliable, connected, and affordable. And unfortunately, the city is building transit and going about it the wrong way. The fares should not be increasing while they're decreasing service. No company in the world could possibly justify to their customers that we're going to increase our prices right now to you, and at the same time make the product worse. They would go bankrupt. So here, there's just no logical rationale why the TTC Commission, the Board of Commissioners, or even City Council should be allowed to do that. And I think Torontonians have every right, riders have every right to be upset with it.
COVID-19 and vaccination update. City of Toronto reflects on the pandemic response 3 years after Toronto's first confirmed case of COVID-19. The City of Toronto is reflecting on the strength and resiliency of Torontonians on the 3rd anniversary of the first case COVID-19 confirmed in the city. 1 year after the first case appeared in Toronto on January 18, 2021, the city launched its first COVID-19 immunization clinic and worked collaboratively with Toronto Public Health, healthcare providers, and community partners to deliver COVID-19 vaccinations as quickly and effectively as possible. As of January 19, 2023, more than 7.8 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine and boosters have been administered to eligible residents 5 years of age and older, and more than 90% of people aged 12 and older have received 2 doses of vaccine. Also launched in 2021, the innovative work of city's vaccine engagement teams, VETs. A community ambassador has been a key component of the city's COVID-19 community mobilization and engagement plan to help reduce barriers to COVID-19 vaccines, address hesitancy, and increase vaccine confidence. access and uptake among equity-deserving communities across Toronto. The culturally diverse and multilingual community ambassadors and VETs have been integral to building trust and improving vaccine access and equity. Toronto's COVID-19 vaccination program is ongoing, with targeted outreach to protect seniors, children, homebound individuals, people experiencing homelessness, persons with a disability, and those most likely to experience poor outcomes associated with COVID-19. Although 3 years have passed since Toronto's first confirmed case, COVID-19 continues to circulate in the community. Toronto Public Health recommends the residents to stay up to date with their COVID-19 vaccinations. Scientific data shows that individuals who have kept up to date with their vaccinations are better protected against serious consequences linked to the virus and its variants compared to those who are unvaccinated or undervaccinated. COVID-19 and flu vaccination appointments continue to be available at all 6 city fixed sites, immunization clinics to people 6 months of age and older. The Burn, reflecting on the COVID-19 pandemic through art. The Burn is an interactive installation that provides a place for transformation, healing, and letting go. From January 19th to March 11th, the installation's vessels tour the city, inspiring Torontonians to set healing intentions on wooden spears. On March 11th, the 3rd anniversary of the official start of the pandemic, a commemorative ceremony featuring the Burn takes place at Nathan Phillips Square in memory of lives lost. Experience a shared exhalation through fire, water, and immersive waves of sounds, as the vessel's wooden spheres, along with fresh ones created on site, come together to ignite for a 24-hour burn from March 11th to 12th. Vaccination update. Did you get a winter COVID-19 booster yet? The bivalent vaccine is now available for all residents 5 and over and recommended for everyone who hasn't received a booster in 2022. Book an appointment at toronto.ca/COVID-19 or a mobile clinic near you. Bivalent boosters target the original COVID-19 virus and the Omicron variants. They provide better protection from becoming very sick with COVID-19 and provide strong protection against Omicron variants. You can get boosted at least 6 months after COVID-19 dose or infection and at least 3 months if at high risk of severe illness from COVID-19. Vaccines and wellness clinics in the neighborhood. Wellness clinics at 200 Wellesley Street East, the corner, Tuesday from 1:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Walk-ins are welcome. Cold flu COVID-19 testing and treatment clinic at 40 Oak Street, Regent Park CHC, every Wednesday at 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Wellness Hub at 40 Oak Street, Regent Park CHC, Saturdays from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. Appointments recommended, walk-ins accepted. Vaccine clinics at 519. Get your COVID-19 and flu shots on Wednesdays from 3 to 6 p.m. For more information, contact community@the519.org.
And now for events, jobs, grants, and training in Regent Park. On February 6th from 6 to 8 p.m., there's an Arab Learning Series, which is a free Zoom event, and it is brought to you by the Anti-Racism Action Plan. On Saturday, February the 11th, 2023, the TNG group will be hosting a United for Peace all-male basketball tournament from 3 to 8 p.m. at 349 Ontario Street, the Central Neighborhood House. The Anti-Racism Action Project presents Healing with Tea on February 7, 2023 from 1 to 3 p.m. This event will be held in the CSI Living Room, located at 585 Dundas Street East in the Daniel Spectrum Building. Would you like to work for Park Forestry and Recreation? Park Forestry and Recreation presents Building Skills Through Recreation. Pathways to Youth Employment. Get support with resume development, written assessment, and interviewing skills. Certifications. Guaranteed interview for available jobs. For more information, contact ifra@ysm.ca or call 647-717-2437. Free mental health first aid training, exclusive opportunity for youth ages 15 to 25 to learn more about mental health, healthy coping habits, and resources available for mental health crises. Must be resident of Regent Park or surrounding areas and free to attend in-person workshops from 9 to 6 p.m. on February the 25th and February the 26th. If you have any questions, please contact Mental Health Matters 341@gmail.com. Grant for Black women entrepreneurs. 10K grant for Black female entrepreneurs in Ontario. Deadline for application is February 1st. For more information, visit www.nba.com/raptors/legalzoom. Armrock is hiring. Come be a part of the action at the Rogers Center. Hiring for concession workers, cooks, warehouse porters, hawkers, suites, and many more. The hiring event will take place at Canoe Landing Recreation Center, 45 Fort York Boulevard, Toronto, Ontario, on February 7th to the 10th, the 14th, the 17th, and February 28th, from 2 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. March 2nd and March 3rd, from 2 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and March 4th, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. The Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, operating in Regent Park, presents Elevate Black Businesses program. If you have ever been denied a business loan, come to the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce to access grants. For more information, contact info@canadianblackchamber.ca or call 416-643-6206. Bolt presents financial awards, careers in construction. Are you enrolled in a construction-related program and need help funding your education? Find support with Bolt. Successful applicants receive up to $5,000 to support their full-time studies. Application now open. Deadline April 28, 2023. Need money for post-secondary school? Apply for Investing in Our Diversity Scholarship. Eligible applicants can receive up to $4,000 to cover tuition fees and school-related expenses for full-time post-secondary education or training. Deadline to apply, Friday, March 17th, 2023. For more information, visit torontohousing.ca/IIODS or email youth@torontohousing.ca or call 647-456-9390. The Real Six, creative industry program that allows you to earn an industry-recognized credential and skills to start on a path to a career with the real-time 3D gaming ecosystem. Choose your own pathway. Open to all TCHC residents aged 17 to 29. Registration deadline, January 23rd, 2023 to January 30th, 2023. For more information, contact kareem.grant@torontohousing.ca or call 437-998-8652.
And that's all for today's show. My name is Ryan, along with Jabin, Allanis, Victoria, and Fred. We also like to thank our team of researchers that contributed for this week's show, and from our studios at Focus Media Arts Center. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please follow our social media platforms. For more information, check out our website.